At the end of this week's Parsha, Parshas Shoftim, we are introduced to certain halachos of war. Ki tatzur al ir, when you start to besiege a city, lilachem aleha, to fight them, to conquer them. Lo tashchit et eitza ki mimenu tochel, you should not cut down the fruit-bearing trees to assist in your sieging tools and building them. Rather, lo eitz ma'achal oto tashchit, a tree that does not produce fruit, that is what you shall cut down. Uvanita matzor al ha'ir asher hi osei imach milchama ad ridata. Use those trees, the wood from the trees that don't produce any fruit, to build your siege against the city that is warring against you until you have made it subservient to you. Ad ridata, says Rashi, shetehei kefufalach, that it bends to you, it bends its will to you. Go hard. Finish them off. Kadosh Baruch Hu is interjecting in the middle of halacha, in the middle of a lotase, of don't cut down a fruit-bearing tree, saying, but when you do cut down the trees that I let you cut down, go all the way. I think a reminder that even in times of war, Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to succeed with the mitzvos. The mitzvos aren't to our impediment. They are for us to succeed. Not only that, but Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying, go all the way. I think it's a certain aspect, a certain personality trait of a Jew, of going all the way. I'll show you how I think that and where I think that from. But even further, put everything into it. Go all the way with everything that you have. Put your whole soul into it. Ki teisele milchama al oyevecha, says Rashi, al oyevecha, yu beinecha ka'oivim, al terachem alehem, because they're not going to have any mercy on you. Always look at them as the enemy. Don't have any mercy. I want you to go full throttle. And I want you to go until they are bent to your will. Obviously, it has to do with the kiyum mitzvahs as well, because then we can destroy all the avodah zarah. But I think for us, it's also how Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to behave. To put everything. We are the people that try harder than anyone, that work harder than anyone. That's what Kadosh Baruch Hu wants us to be. As we're told in the beginning of the Torah in Parshas, that when a Kadosh Baruch Hu meets Avraham in the Bris Bein HaBesarim, the middle of the night, Hashem takes Avraham outside of the tent or outside of his Eitz Tegninus. Vayomer habetna hashamayim, look up to the sky. V'saper kochavim tuchal, and count the stars if you are able to. Vayomer lo kol yazarecha. So the Mayam Beit HaShoever of Schwab, he asks, it says Vayomer habetna hashamayim, Vayomer lo kol yazarecha. Why does Hashem have to speak twice? So explains of Schwab, because in between, after Kadosh Baruch Hu told Avraham, count the stars if you can, and Avraham knew it was an impossible task, he started counting the stars. So Hashem had to interject and say, that's how your children are going to be. How? Those who try to count the stars, who do everything they can to achieve the impossible. Adri deta, alo yevecha, go full out with everything you have. What should we be attempting to achieve here? What should we be going full out on? And I think the ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh is an interesting indicator. We shouldn't cut down the trees that bear fruit. Ki ha'adam eitz hasadeh. There's a lot of comparisons. The Gemara makes a lot of comparisons. What is the similarity between man and plant? There's so many similarities. But the Or Gedaliahu says something beautiful. The Rav Gedalia Shor, he explains that the difference between a fruit-bearing tree and a field is that a field has to be worked on year by year. It only produces that year for the work that you put in that year. But trees, yeah, they need some pruning here and there, but you plant it, and then for years to come it produces. That's what we, as human beings, are supposed to be trying to do, are attempting to do, to bring out the kochos that we have and let them work for themselves. Not to work every day to bring out, but to bring out those traits that will speak for themselves. right? To better ourselves and bring to the forefront those awesome personality traits that work for us. And let those take over. So instead of being reactive when something negative happens to us, we have these other kochos that take over. That's how we are like a man. That's how we are like plants, like specifically a tree that bears fruits. But I think even beyond that, later on in the Parsha, when we talk about who's supposed to be going to war here, so we know that a person who has built a house hasn't lived in it, planted a vineyard, hasn't eaten from it, engaged to be married, hasn't gotten married. He's supposed to go home. He's not allowed to fight because there's too much on his mind. There's an agmas nefesh. What if he were to die and not take advantage of these pleasures and not finish? He can't. But then there's the fourth. Mihaish hayarei v'rach halevav, soft-hearted and afraid. Yelech v'yashav le'tova lo yimaset levav echav kilvavo. We don't want him to bring down everybody else. Explains Rashi, this person who has this tremendous fear and is trembling, what is he afraid of? Rashi quotes Rabbi Yossi Aglili, Yarei me averos shebiyado. He's afraid of his averos. He's afraid that he might not be worthy of surviving the war because of his sins. So there's a very big question. A person who has yiras chet, that's a maila, not a chisaron. Why should he go home? Yiras hachet, yiras shemayim. Yira is a good thing. Tamim tiyeh Hashem Elokecha. What does Unkla say? You should be shalem in your yira. This sounds like a little bit of shlemus in yira. Why should he go home? So the Baal HaTurim says something very interesting. The Baal HaTurim says there's base b'Masora. There are two times that this hayarei appears. Hayarei yesh shtayim b'Torah. By Makas Barad, it says, Hayarei Dvar Hashem me'avdei paro heinis et avdo ve'et miknehu el habatim v'asher lo sam lev el Dvar Hashem v'yazov et avadav ve'et miknehu basadeh. A person who is afraid of the Dvar Hashem in Makas Barad, after 6 makos, the 7th makkah in Makas Barad, they heard the warning that the Barad was coming, and they brought in their livestock and their slaves, their servants, and those who weren't sam lev, who weren't paying attention to Hashem's word, left them outside. So obviously this explains, right? We know that yiras shemayim is simas lev. It's the opposite. A very famous word in and of itself, that paying attention leads to yiras shemayim. As we spoke about last week, paying attention to the alternate dimension, paying attention to the spiritual dimension, paying attention to the words of Hashem, paying attention to what's really there. Here was Dvar Hashem. He was paying attention. So it would come to see, you'd think, that what the Baal HaTurim is explaining is that using that explanation based in Makas Barad, we can understand what is the Yira here in our war. He's afraid of the Averos because he's afraid of his sins. The man going out into war is afraid of his sins because he's afraid of Hashem. He has Yiras Shemayim. So again, it only further strengthens the question. But the Imre Emes explains the Baal HaTurim and the Masorah of having 2 hayareis from Makas Barad and here of going out to war. He explains it very differently. It's not a good thing. According to the Baal HaTurim, or the pshat of how we'd read the Baal HaTurim, we'd understand that he's afraid of his Averos means Yiras Shemayim. But the Imre Emes says no. He sees 6 makos, he hears the 7th is coming, he's afraid of the onesh, he's afraid of what's coming, he's afraid of losing his livestock, he's afraid of losing his livelihood, he's afraid of losing his servants, of losing everything. So he heeds. He's taking care of himself. It's self-serving. That's his yira. That's the person going to war. His level of yira is like the level of Paro's servants, self-serving. There was once a sukkos by the Beis Aaron, by Sukkos time, and it was Erev Sukkos, and the Beis Aaron for some reason didn't have his sukkah built yet. It's getting pretty close to Yantif, and all of a sudden he comes home and he sees that there was a certain chassid who built a sukkah for him. And he was so touched, he was so moved, and he said to him, I really want to reward you. The Beis Aaron said this to the chassid. He said, I really want to reward you. You have two choices to choose from. What's behind door number one? Imi b'mechitzasi. You can have your olam haba next to me. We're going to be neighbors in olam haba. Or, I'll bless you with wealth. And the chassid thought, and he said, give me the wealth. And everybody's a little bit shocked. This is a chassid. This is a person who understands what imi b'mechitza means, what being a neighbor in olam haba means. I personally don't understand, but the chassid said, I'll tell you the difference why I chose wealth. Because imi b'mechitza is me, me, me. With the ashiras, I have an opportunity to do good for others. That's what the chassid said. The ish hayarei v'racha levav, this yira that he has, is a selfish yira. He's afraid of his sins. He's not part of Klal Yisrael. He's thinking of himself. He's not afraid of all the puranos that might befall his whole nation. Maybe they have chisronos. No, he's worried about his chisaron. He is selfish. He is internally focused. That is not the kind of person that we want affecting us. And when we go out into war, Kadosh Baruch Hu is saying, you have to go fully, put yourself completely into it, and go to the end. Achieve the impossible. Grow beyond your capacity and beyond your measure. Beyond our measure, grow. Adam HaRishon, when he was created 1,000 amos tall. That's what we're told in the Midrash. What does that mean? So explains the Das Atzmecha that it doesn't mean that he was physically 1,000 amos tall, that he reached from the ground to the sky, but rather he was connected with every individual and every living and breathing and inanimate object. Everything, all the beings, all the creations in the world, Adam was connected to them. There is a Malcolm Gladwell, he talks about something called the idea of transactive memory. That a lot of time when you have a married couple married for many, many years and one of them passes away in old age, the other one feels like they've lost a part of themselves. Malcolm Gladwell says that's a little bit of transactive memory at work. Transactive memory is when we recognize subconsciously who is better at what subject, at what topic, more astute in that area, and we let them handle it. So when information comes into us as a couple, as a partnership, whoever is stronger in that topic that we're discussing, he's the one or she's the one that's going to remember it. And the other one subconsciously says, yeah, you take care of this. You've got this memory. Phone numbers, what did I forget to bring with me when I pack? All these things. Transactive memory. They decide subconsciously who's going to take control of this memory, of this information, so we can maximize our capacity beyond what we're able to do. And that's why when one of them passes away, we feel like we've lost something because we've lost access to so much information. In these times of war, and we know that Shoftim is beyond the physical individuals that are going into each city, but rather, says the Shla, it's Kol She'erecha. Every single one of our openings, we should have Shoftim v'Shotim in our mouth, in our eyes, in our ears, in our nose. When we go out to war, when we have these trials and tribulations, we're supposed to look outward. We're supposed to bring out those kochos that give back further, thinking about others, interacting with others, letting them take care of the information. That's how I expand myself. That's how I exceed my limits. And I don't go home because I'm not just thinking about myself. I'm thinking about everybody. I think that's what we're supposed to be doing now in Elul time. We're going to be standing before HaKadosh Baruch Hu, before the great judge on Rosh Hashanah time, and we're going to plead our case. And we're not just going to be afraid of our averos, so we're going to hopefully be thinking that when we stand before Hashem, we're going to be thinking about what can we do to better the Jewish people. How do we fit into those plans? And we'll do everything we can, and we'll go until the end, until we achieve it. Shenizke. Good Shabbos.